to contrast the piece that is going to be talked about.
All right. So once again, I want to welcome everyone to the 2021 Ossining Arts Council annual member show reception. We have
Is it just coming on?
Yeah.
the in-person show opened at the library on January 2nd, and the virtual show went up the other day. So I hope everybody's had a chance to look at the gallery and to see their work and their co-members' work. I'm getting a little bit of background noise. So if you can mute yourself, that would be helpful. If it seems a little too much, like I keep getting some noise in the background, I may wind up just muting people in the process. So I think as I said, I want to welcome everyone. We have a pretty good turnout tonight, and the show, we've gotten really good feedback on the show. So I think that what I'd like to start by doing is sort of viewing the show, and we'll kind of take a look at different people's work. One of the things that's nice about the online gallery is you get to see people's artist statements, either about their work or about who they are.
Yes, you're fine.
So, all right. And you know, I do encourage you to go ahead and you know, if you see something that you want to make a comment on, you're welcome to do that. All right. Each of the works in the show can be purchased online through the show. If somebody clicks the little leaf link, it'll take them to a link to an online store where they can purchase. All right. So this is Mujan. Excuse me. This is Mujan Agardici's work. And I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she does pyrography, which is, she uses a hot tool.
Yeah.
I don't think that Mujan is here tonight.
You're looking at their screen.
To comment or say anything on her work. At least she's not here now, but she's been showing with the Ossining Arts Council for several years now, and her work is very detailed. The next work is by Karen Allen. And I'm going to hand it off to Elsa. She was going to.
No, actually, it was going to.
Renee? All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. I was just listening to the conversation before we started, where Karen was saying that she basically, is somebody not muted? Yeah, I hear some background. Where she was saying that she had reworked this piece after she sent in this her image to be put up on the webpage. So I thought it was interesting that she was saying that. So Karen, you were saying that you thought that you needed to keep working on the piece, if I heard you correctly, and that you felt like that is an artist's right to do that, right? Even
I
though,
guess that's a controversial thing, and I'm still finding my way with that. And then Allison mentioned that she had an instructor who said, "Oh, you have to wait at least a year, you know, before you would enter anything into a show." And I think that would really like slow down your process. To me, it's all part of the process of the painting having literally a life of its own. It's kind of pulling me along. It's not like I'm in total. I'm trying to get it to a certain point, and it's a growth thing. It's almost like it's a plant. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain.
Well, no, it's interesting, the conversation, because I had heard from my own instructor at one point. I think we had this conversation, you and I, at the gallery, that when, it's always the question for an artist, when is the painting done? Or when is the
Yeah.
piece done? And
Right.
it's always the angst of the artist, like, when is it done? When is it done? And I said to you that I had an instructor that said, the painting is done when it stops having a conversation with you. And I think
It never, for me, listen, it never stops having a conversation with me. I'm always,
exactly,
never. It's just the way I work, and it really helps to get it away from me, you know? So I find that the online I mean, I almost think it would be better to like deliver it someplace physically, so it's out of my grasp.
this is a possibility, I guess, yeah. No, I can see that this is your Hook Mountain. I mean, I know that this is something that you see from where you live, do you not?
No, it's from Ossining. It's much closer to where most of you guys live further south than
Oh,
me.
because I know you live up in Verplank, which is,
Yeah, I mean,
right.
I can see the river. I can see the river from where I live, and the river landscape affects me tremendously.
So
And
was
I did
this
this.
a plein air piece, or was it not?
I started it as plein air piece on a lot of sketches. I have about 9 paintings of this, and I've displayed some of them in the Steamboat Gallery. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, I remember your triptych,
The
the piece that was
steamer
3 piece.
gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had 3
So
images.
I've just been fascinated with this landmark. It means something to me, and by doing the paintings, it's becoming more and more clear what it means. It's very personal, and it's very beautiful. I really, really love the Hudson River landmarks, the Palisades, the different parts of the river. And I think a lot of other people do too. I think it resonates with people. And I'm just finding my way. I mean, I do not consider myself as being a fully formed artist at a late stage. I'm just getting back into painting, really.
Well, I can see that you have a lot of vitality in the painting and a lot of movement. And with your use of colors, I like your palette. It's kind of got this kind of, it's not austere. It's kind of like a combination of pastel, but with the nice earth colors and such. And I think it really catches your eye, especially because you chose this circular canvas, which was interesting when I saw the piece and was ready to hang it at the gallery.
I
So
think it's a little hard, maybe to hang a piece that's round and everything else is rectangle. It probably caused a little disruption, but that's my personality too, as Allison knows.
well, did you have to approach it differently because you were painting on a
Oh,
circular?
yeah. Oh, it was such a challenge. But if you guys happen to go to look at the Ossining Public Library in person, this painting improved. This is a version of it, but what's hanging on the wall now is so much closer, so much more what I want. The colors are just glowing, they're kind of vibrating, and it's taking me a lot of time to get some technical knowledge to know how to make that happen more consistently. So that's where I want to go with colors. And I want the values to be a lot more clear. So what you see at the library, if you go look, because I can't do any screen sharing to show you, the piece that's more corresponding to what's there at the library. The whole composition is much more cohesive. So it's just been a great opportunity to, work out my angst. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your, talking to us about your painting, and it's been very interesting to hear your take on how your process was for this particular piece.
Thanks, Renee.
Excellent. So let's see. Next, we have Suzanne Altman, and her painting of a chicken and oranges. This is still life. And I don't think Suzanne is here tonight, but it's interesting because her painting from last year's, or what was in last year's member show, also had an orange in it. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I love the piece. Really, really wonderful. It's so clear, you know? It's really wonderful.
Concise, great use of color.
That's great. All right. And next up we have Helen Arbor Young, who's a photographer. She prints most of her prints on her own, and she does manipulation of the photos that she takes.
Is Helen there?
She's not here tonight. And she might come later, but she's not here. It's interesting to me. I've never seen black and white from Helen previously.
It's beautifully composed. It's just beautiful. It's just
Well,
so beautiful. Isn't that light beautiful on it?
The
Wow.
light is beautiful, but also the silhouette, and then the in the
Mhm.
center there, this imagery coming through from the light backlighting on some element in the background.
Louise Belovich is a fairly long time member of the OAC. I think she paints a lot of different kinds of subjects. Last year she had a portrait, and this year she's got a landscape.
Looks like she uses a lot of different media according to her bio, which is, you know, every artist loves to do that, I think.
Let's see. This is Ted Berkowitz's work. His work is really powerful. I don't think Ted is here tonight either. And if you know anybody, as we go through the work, if you have comments or you want to.
I have a comment.
Mhm.
Has anybody else worked with an interior designer on weekends?
Oh.
Isn't that what, how do you, did
I'm
he do
sorry,
a
say that
mural?
again?
It's, his bio says, worked with an interior designer. I was just wondering if anybody here has ever worked with an interior designer.
You mean make pieces specifically for an interior designer to use in their, you know, their work?
I don't know. I was just, maybe I should ask him
Yeah.
if I ever get a chance.
Yeah.
Worked with an interior designer. I was just wondering if any of the other members attending today have worked with an interior designer.
I have. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, who is
Oh,
it?
okay. Yeah, my first job out of college was doing giant paintings, big paintings of animals and stuff that were on the walls of like Bloomingdale's and Bergdorf's. But it was a
Ooh,
big art
cool.
studio, and you know, and I do 6 paintings where I just did the rocks on the ground. So it was my first job out of college, but it was an interior design firm. And I am an interior designer,
Oh,
but
who's
that
that?
first job was great. You know, it was just really
Who's
big.
talking? Can you just tell us?
Roseanne Spano Swider.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm in the show.
Yes. Hi,
Okay,
Rosie.
I know you. Wait, where is she? Okay.
How come we can't see you?
Oh, because I have to restart my computer.
Well, we have it, and because we have the screen share, we can't see everyone. But
Oh,
if you see a row of people, you can use the arrows at either end to move through and see who and see various people.
yes, I see that. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm late.
It's okay. we're all it's wonderful that we're all here. We make it when we can make it, and that's really great.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's kind of interesting. One of the things that I've been really excited about in terms of Ted is that I've never spoken with him personally, and I kind of would like to do that, but apparently he goes to music shows and does drawings while at them often.
I've seen him in Verplank, yes, at a music show doing sketches.
Yeah, and I think he does that very often, which is a really wonderful, really wonderful.
Yeah, and he draws the musicians. Yeah, he's very talented.
This is Bonnie Cole's work, and I believe Bonnie is here tonight.
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to say anything about your work?
Well, while my bio talks about the Hudson River, this photo came from Tennessee when I visited my daughter this spring. That after we could get out, take a plane if you had if you were fully vaccinated. So the first thing to do was go down to visit her in her new house along the river in Tennessee. And she loved the herons. She's been volunteering at nature centers and I guess kind of following in my footsteps. But she wanted the heron. She wanted a photo. She wanted to show me the gray blue herons. So we did.
Beautiful photograph, Bonnie.
Really lovely. They are
Great.
tremendous birds.
It's really busy, but I don't know, it just captured this is the river walk in Sevierville. Dolly Parton's home there, that's where Dollywood and it's quite a huge nature and arts locality just south of Knoxville. So,
Bonnie, I have a question.
yes.
What kind of camera do you use? What's your process?
Well, now I'm using the lightest camera I can. I have a Panasonic Lumix Micro Four Thirds. I used to carry a professional camera, a Nikon D4, but with all the lenses and tripods and everything, it was close to 30 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my back and my shoulders started giving out. And even with the new configuration I most of the time use a 300 millimeter prime. This one happens to be an Olympus prime, but it got the best reviews. And the other one, Panasonic, is teamed with Leica. So half of my lenses are Leica lenses and the other half are Olympus, but they're much lighter than what I used to carry. But even this combination is pretty heavy. I think I took my lighter camera with me. So this is the I have two. This one's a Lumix G85 with 40 to 150 zoom, which was a much the Leica lens, but much lighter for me to carry around traveling.
So this is a zoom lens, and how far away exactly were you from this bird as he outstretched his magnificent wings?
We were walking along the river, much like the Hudson by Croton or up at Verplank, about the same that distance, where you see the bird between Stony Point and
Mm-hmm.
this was a smaller river. It's a famous river. I can't remember what it was, but my Panasonic has internal vibration reduction. The lenses all have vibration reduction. And on top of that, it's got teleconverter built in and zoom. So I can go up to 4 times, which means with I can go up to 1,000 feet pretty comfortably.
So you didn't use a tripod. You didn't need to because it has that vibration
I
reduction.
didn't want to, I thought I would be flying. It ended up, the flight was canceled and we had to drive, but no, so I handheld because I didn't want to carry all the other equipment. Here I use a tripod every once in a while, but sometimes it's just quicker. Like this afternoon, I got the gray blue herons right by that cairn on the Hudson Croton Bay, right across from the Croton train station. There were 3 of them just breeding.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
So
yeah.
is this printed on that metallic? It has that kind of luminescence to it. Is that from the photo?
Yes, this one is it's a Hahnemuhl paper called Pearl Metallic. And I found it and shared it with Mark Zerzan, and then all of a sudden a lot of photographers started using it. It's a softer metallic. It's soft, it's pearl. It gives more like a watercolor
Mhm.
effect, which I like much better. But yeah, but the other thing is I didn't have to use glass. So it
Oh,
didn't
to
matter
protect
that we
it. Oh,
dropped
yeah.
it times while hanging it. It was okay.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Let's see, who do we have here? This is Anne Claude's piece, and
No, I'm not in the, no, I'm not muted.
it's made with pinhole cameras.
Excuse me, can I see that? Oh, she's unmuted. Okay, sorry.
I am. Although I'm not speaking yet.
Not
So-
yet.
Right, there's Anne Claude.
Hi.
No, I can't get.
Okay, are we doing our talk now? Oh, lovely.
Okay.
Hello, Aunt Claude.
Hi, how are
How are
you?
you? I'm very taken with this work, and I have to say I know very little about pinhole cameras, and I hope that you can educate all of us about this.
Well, listening to Bonnie and her discussion of cameras, I've always been taking pictures, but I'm incapable of speaking camera speak or understand what my cameras do. So this is a natural thing for me to go to. I brought some of my cameras. Here's a camera with 3 holes. This is a bracelet box, right? And I put photo paper inside. And then it happens to have 3 apertures, which means that to expose the first side of the paper of the photograph, I take this tape off. This is really high tech. And then I've counted my seconds and I close that up. And then I can open the next one up and then the third one. As I'm doing that, I can move the camera. I can go to another state and expose that little section. And since all this is light going through a pinhole, it merges across. I'm not saying this very well, but there are no discrete lines to show 3 separate photographs. Photographically, this box just merges everything in a beautiful way. At the time that I was beginning to take pictures this way, I was making artist-made books, artist books. And these images, like this one, are very poetic and very ethereal, they go beyond. So this photograph is actually a box with 2 holes, taken at the time I was living, actually for 40 years, I was living on Deer Isle in Maine. This was taken in January. I had my stomach to the ground on ice and snow. And what my camera saw was blades of grass that were quivering in the wind. And that's what this photograph is of. When I'm, these are processed in a dark room, silver gelatin prints. And I like the idea that you don't have to know that this was grass. If I wanted to photograph grass, I would have used my Nikon, but this gives me another type of an image. So, and these images are used in books with poetry, so that there's kind of a metaphorical process that goes beneath the surface of the image and the surface of the words, and a kind of a dialogue back and forth.
Can I ask you, have you ever done conventional photography?
Yes, I do that all the time as well.
So
But
have you moved more toward pinhole photography and away from conventional?
no, these I do as I don't use pictures that I take with my Nikon in the books that I make. I use these kinds of images
Ah,
in my books.
and where are these books available? Are they?
They are one of a kind. They are, I have some here that have traveled around and they come back to me.
And what types of things do you like to do what types of subjects do you like to use your pinhole cameras with?
Well, they are, you need high contrast kinds of things, especially, I lived in a fishing village, so that a lot of my images for years were of piers, of fishing piers and things, so that you had some straight, straight lines that are broken up in a certain way. If, a lot of people would come to my gallery and say, oh, I know all about pinhole photography because in third grade, we had a science project in a Quaker Oats box. And so in those boxes, the paper is rounded, which gives a fisheye distortion to what you're looking at. So if you're looking at something with a grid, for example, that is broken up in a lovely distortion. So
that's wonderful. And I love your piece. It's just very, as you said, very ethereal. And there's a kind of thing that it just pulls you in. It's a fascinating piece.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you pair your poetry with your image, do you have a poem in mind before you take your image? Or do you let the image kind of guide what you choose?
It's gone in both directions. Sometimes I have a poem and these images are abstract enough that, that I can fit them in to the words. And sometimes it goes the other way.
Do you have a poem for this piece?
No, this was just an image that I've shown. It won an award at the I can't even think of the name. The museum in, the Mattituck Museum in Connecticut. It won a juror's prize. So, but I've only shown that by itself.
I have a question, Anne Claude.
Yeah.
Have you ever done cyanotypes? Do you know about those?
I do. I have. I don't like the blue. And there's also Van Dyke Brown, but I don't do those normally.
Another question: Are your results they're somewhat unexpected, right? You don't really know exactly what you're going to get, right?
Right. For 20 years before going to grad school, I was a printmaker and always working with needing an element of surprise. So it's kind of built into process for me.
It's really, it feels so much like you, and I don't even know you too well, but that's the real personality. It is, isn't it? But isn't that what our artwork does? It sort of conveys our personality, and we're all different. And it's just really gorgeous.
Thank you.
I could never do something like that in a trillion years.
Sure you could.
No, I couldn't. It's too much like you.
I think you should teach a little workshop in building these, in creating these cameras from boxes.
I'm available.
Are you?
Kind of. I mean, I did that for a long time. Since I've moved here 3 years ago, which I think that says, and I'm now mostly working with fiber. So I sew all day long, but
Ah,
I did set up a dark room in my basement.
so you have your feet in both places.
I could.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is Dominic DeFabio's piece, and I don't think he's with us tonight. And he makes mixed media pieces primarily.
You don't know if he does welding or anything like that, is it? Or does he?
I don't know. We'll have to save that question to ask him when we, to ask him.
Oh, I think it's interesting that he's a retired psychiatrist.
Mhm.
I've met so many psychiatrists who are artists.
Mhm. Yeah. And this is Beatrice DiMartino's work.
Ah,
She's a longtime Ossining Arts Council member. She runs, some of you may have taken her drawing classes, and she does shared studio time.
She likes to do the figure, and she runs that life drawing class.
Where is that class?
She used to have it
it's
in
different
Kroger.
places right now. It's in
Yeah.
people's backyards.
Oh, really?
Kind of
Yes.
roving, yeah, it's been roving, yeah.
So where would you find that? Under her name?
I think actually, one of the things that we're working on for a new version of the OAC website is to have a directory.
That's a wonderful idea.
And so maybe we'll be able to put that information, that kind of information in the directory as we go. Have a different kind of criteria that people want to add if they want to.
You could also find B through Facebook and write her a message.
This is Tamar Drucker's work, and Tamar, you're here tonight, right?
I saw her. There is-
I thought I saw her before.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, this piece. So Tamar makes quilts, and they're usually representational. I don't know. I think I've seen a lot of different kind of subject matters, but often they are represent maybe not so so broad a landscape kind of as this one is, but the work is just amazing, and the colors are always wonderful.
Can you
Yeah, I don't know
play
how
her
clearly.
video? Can you play her video there?
The video is not so successful, but if you
I
want to
wish
ask
you-
me anything about the piece, and I do quite a lot of different areas. When it comes to quilting, I like to do, images of people, and sometimes it's scenery. So it's, in this case, it's Ossining, and it was just so empty the last time I kind of went down towards the farmer's market. And it just kind of, I always knew I wanted to make a piece of Ossining, which I've done some other spots of Ossining, but this one was just kind of the empty streets. So
You mean because of COVID?
yeah.
Mm.
So I kind of thought this would be appropriate for this show. But Ossining is just so picturesque. Ossining is really has some amazing, interesting corners and buildings. And every time I walk, if it's like in the afternoon or in earlier in the day, it depends how the light hits it.
Right.
And because it's next to the river, it's always so interesting. So
Thank you, Tamara.
thank you.
Wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay, this is Mary Ellis's piece. And I didn't see Mary tonight. here with us, but if you are here, Mary, go ahead and speak up. I think she's this is very vibrant, and I think her story about having the pandemic provides space for her to take stock. I think that may be true of many of us. So it's interesting.
Yeah, amen to that, Allison, for sure.
All right. This is April Freeman Locke's portrait. And April, you're here. Do you want to?
I'm here. Actually, I'm supposed to be interviewing April.
Yeah.
I believe. So, hi, April.
Hi, Elsa.
I was very taken with this picture, and I have to say, I think I've seen this guy.
I think you have.
Is he a real Metro North?
He's a real Metro North guy. I was so taken. I was buying a ticket and I just saw his beautiful face. And I said, I don't really do portraits, but I'm an artist. Can I take your photograph? And so when we eventually got to Grand Central and we all got off the train, he was standing on the side of the train. I said, can I take your picture? And he said, yes. And his name is Devante, which I wrote on there. And I just, when I was doing the piece, I just imagined all these vibrant colors around him. And I actually tried to reach him a few months ago. I had his phone number and I tried to text him to say, I've done your portrait and I'd love to give you a print of it, but I never heard back.
Oh.
But I get to see his beautiful face all the time.
Oh yes, he really has a very dynamic and sweet face.
Yes.
And the colors are just great.
Yeah, the colors seem to almost be like the aura of his character, which is really nice. It kind of reverberates.
Yes, truly, he radiates. He radiates.
Radiates, exactly. He radiates.
Yeah.
And I hope he's okay.
Well, maybe he doesn't have a job now because of.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
You could keep trying, possibly find him.
Try him again. It's a good point.
I'm going to New York tomorrow. I'll look for him.
Look for him.
So yeah, he might show up.
So April, I believe that you have some interesting news about another of your works. I don't know if you're interested in sharing that tonight.
Well, I mean, I could show the piece, but I saw a picture in the New York Times about it was a supplement on Nigeria. It was last like February or something. And I saw these 4 Nigerian women. It was a black and white photo from the 1950s. And these 4 women were sitting down. And I was so taken with them. And I thought, oh my God, I need to do this piece in color and I need to do pattern on pattern on pattern. And so I contacted the National African Museum because I found out that that's where the photograph was, and I was asking them for permission. And I was having a dialogue back and forth with the senior curator there. Anyway, so she said, don't worry about copyright, just say inspired by. So I went ahead and I did the piece. Can I show you the piece?
Sure, just hold it up.
Hold on.
Fabulous.
Beautiful.
Oh, it disappeared. I can't see it anymore.
Is that
I
a
don't know what happened.
This, I'll tell you about it in a minute. So.
That's amazing.
So, okay, so what I did was it's acrylic. It's a very large piece, as you can see. And I worked out all the patterns on the computer. I learned Photoshop and Illustrator years ago, and I created all these patterns. I got some off, Google, and some, from Illustrator, and I just changed all the colors around. And then I thought, well, this is insane. I'm not going to paint all these things. So I collaged all the patterns are collaged on. I painted their faces, their arms, and legs, and then all the diamonds on the floor were all hand cut and hand glued by me. because
Wow.
pretty insane. But anyway, so I finished the piece and it had been sitting around. This is my pandemic piece. And finally I was going to put this in this show right now. And I thought, okay, well, I've just worked out a price. And then I'm sorry, I'm spacing out. I worked out a price and I took the photograph and I thought, well, why don't I just tell Amy at the National African Museum what I did, just as a whatever. She immediately writes back to me and she said, oh my God, I totally love it. How much is it?
Oh,
She bought it.
Wonderful.
wow.
She bought it,
Good idea.
already got
Right.
the check. And she wants to do an exhibit online of people who were inspired by this particular photographer's work.
That's a great idea. Oh my God.
Great. That's great.
Congratulations.
I'm so excited about. This is the first piece I ever sold.
Oh, you have to let us know all about it. We have to publicize that.
I
That
will.
is great.
Fantastic.
And so,
Fantastic.
so they did an exhibit of these ladies, and they invited because these are them and from like the 1950s, and they did an exhibit because it's part of the Smithsonian, and they invited all these women, so they came in as elders, and they got to visit the
All four of them came?
I'm not sure if all four of them came.
Ah.
Definitely a couple of them came. And they got to see the photographer's work, and people got to see, oh, well, here were these women at like 16, 18 years old, and then here they are as elders. I was just sent a whole book by the curator of this exhibit, and it's pretty exciting, the whole thing.
So were they
Fantastic.
showing
Very
other artists' work that were like yours, paintings made from the photographs
That's what she said. I'm
as, in-
supposed to
as
go-
inspiration pieces?
I'm
April,
gonna,
did you make a print? Did you make a print of it?
I had it photographed properly, and I'll
Oh,
probably
yeah, so
print
you
some.
can. That's very exciting.
Thank you. It is very exciting. So
These are new
Yes.
directions for you. Mostly you used to do abstract pieces.
Yeah.
So this is new that you're doing people.
exactly.
It's wonderful, wonderful.
We're going to meet her in a couple weeks. We're driving to Philadelphia, which is kind of a halfway point, and I'm going to deliver the piece, directly to her instead of shipping it, because I didn't want to do that. Anyway, that's my story.
That's
Wonderful. Congratulations.
so much. We had a question or a comment from Mujan. Did you want to unmute yourself and speak? Are you still here? She had her hand up.
No?
Mujan,
Send her a chat.
I did.
Send her, yeah. Oh.
So, well, if you get your voice back, you just go ahead and unmute yourself and comment as you will. There. So Connie Freed is, I believe she is here, and her portrait, which I think interesting that the portraits all kind of, there are a couple of them together, which is really great. I don't know if you wanted to comment on your work, Connie, or if anybody else wants to.
Well, I
Sorry, I
would
was
just-
trying to figure out how to unmute it.
Oh,
Yeah, what would anybody like to ask me? I usually work from photographs, and I look for photographs that have some sort of emotional content. So this was a piece in the New York Times about men who had AIDS and had survived. So I was trying to show him coming out of the darkness into the light.
It's a beautiful piece.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's got a real intensity to it. And
It's
I mean,
very haunting. Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
it's really wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
well, the thing that struck me too was it's almost like he's disappearing. So I thought that was
Mhm.
kind of an
Right.
effect that really, where you mentioned that you were about social identity and change, and I thought that was very powerful part of the piece.
Thank you. I'm
Thank you.
I'm so grateful that that people are that people have submitted their work. I think it's a wonderful show. I'm excited.
Thank you. Yep.
I thought I saw Keith Gordon come in. This is a ceramic piece, a tile of his. And I don't know if you want to say anything about it, Keith, if you're still here.
Well, it's porcelain that's been colored with various metals and layered and rolled out thin and sliced and then fired with a clear glaze. All those white areas are reflection. That's the photography, not the artwork. But it's a new area for me to be doing 2D in clay.
When you add the colored metals, can you see them in the clay as you roll it out before it's fired, or do the colors only show up after firing?
Oh no, you basically mix the oxides and carbonates into the clay. So each ball of clay gets tinted, but what you see is not what it fires as. So some things that look gray will come out one way, and things that all I can say is it's always a few things, like the green here is chrome and the dark blue is cobalt. But the other ones that you see there are, let's see, ochre is this sort of yellow orange, and you can't see me. There's rutile, there's probably a few other colorants added into that. So I'm starting to experiment and see where it goes.
Well, it's true, isn't it, that when you use glazes, depending on temperature and things, it can really affect and change the colors. Like you don't necessarily always get exactly what you think you're going to get.
Well, that's true for glaze, but this is actually just a very thin, clear glaze over top. All those colors are in the clay. In this situation, I only glazed it so that it would be a smooth surface that wouldn't get dirty if people handled it.
So you actually mixed these metallic, did you say metallic, into the clay itself?
Yes, metal oxides and carbonates primarily. And I wedge them into the clay.
I'm sorry, are they more true than you do know what you're going to get?
Well, if you've used that amount of oxide with that amount of clay several times, then you pretty well know what that will do. So it's a question of practicing and measuring. So if I put in 2 spoonfuls of cobalt versus 1 spoonful of cobalt for the same amount of clay, I'll get a different intensity of blue, for example.
And when it fires, it becomes that color. Yeah.
Right. But you can evaluate, once you have a sense of how the oxides behave in the kiln, what you're going to get in general. But what makes this fun and somewhat random is that I layer about 5 different colored clays, alternating with white and color and white and color, and roll it out into a thick stack of pancakes, slice it, stack it on top, roll it out again, slice it. So now I've got like 16 layers. And then I will use a wire to cut diagonally through those layers to reveal what's in between.
Right.
And that's where the magic happens.
Oh, that's great. Very nice.
It's really beautiful. Thank you, Keith. This is David Green's photograph. And
hi, David. Welcome
Hello,
to
everybody.
the Ossining Arts Council here.
Yeah.
How are
hi.
you this evening? Love your piece. really kind of intrigued by your subject here with these stacked rocks.
There's
I mean,
there's a story behind that.
I'm curious about it because I love stacking things. So can you
Okay,
just
so
share?
let me just switch the virtual background behind me because I was going to talk about that first. Because the photo you see right now was taken 2 minutes after that photo you see behind me. It was
Okay.
about 8 o'clock in the morning and the sun is rising against that cliff. This is in Big Sur, California. And if you see these rocks over here, this is a tidal pool that formed. The Pacific is on the other side. So if you see these rocks over here, where I guess it's over my left shoulder, your right, I don't know. Those rocks extend into the ones you see in the photograph. And when I saw those rocks there, I decided I needed to take out the glare, the brilliance, the shine, because you couldn't see them. So I used a technique that I really like to use, which is to really underexpose in post-editing and take out as many of the highlights as I can and bring out the shadows so that what's actually in the morning it can look like it's twilight. And so you can see the fog in the background. You can see the darkness of those other hills in the distance. But then in the foreground, these rocks really now come out, and they're not piled by me. That's all natural.
That's what I was going to ask because it almost looked, it's very unusual. And the color, I mean, you're saying that you manipulated it somehow, but did you do it with the camera or did you actually do it in post-production?
Well, I do it partially with the camera by playing with ISO and
because I'm not a photographer. That's
there's some of it you could do in the camera and some of it you have to do in post-production. Most of that is post-production. The issue is that when you're doing it, it's what's the mood that you want to portray. The mood of the other photograph was to show beautiful brightness. Here's the morning. Let's go out and enjoy it. And this is a different mood. And so sometimes you play with the light and how you play with the same light when you shoot. And then in post-production, you can, I hate the word, but I'm going to use it, manipulate the light so that you get the mood that you want to get.
Right.
So I do have to clear something up. The name of this is not Backyard. That was the photo that I was going to bring to the library, but at the last second, I realized it wasn't wired. It's actually got a little hole in the top to hang on. So the real backyard, excuse me, I have to duck, is behind me now.
Oh, okay.
So that's what's hanging at the library.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And that's a backyard. That's actually my brother-in-law's backyard in Auckland, Australia. Auckland, New Zealand, I'm sorry. And again, it's the same thing. This is at the end of the day, and the sun is hitting these trees. And if I showed you the original of this, it would be washed out. So again, to try to get the drama of the scene and to see how the sun was actually hitting what it seemed like, it was like a spotlight hitting just the trunks of those old trees. So I had to figure out a way to do that. So it's interesting because I only got back into photography after I retired from teaching. And that was a new.
And were you teaching photography?
No, I taught history for 38 years. I originally learned photography when I was 12. Boyfriend of my mother's was a professional photographer, and he gave me a dark room, and I'd go into the walk-in closet, and everything I did was black and white. So I learned how to do all of that. And then work got in the way. And then when I retired, I said, let me get back to try to do that. And again, I was that old analog head, and here we were in a digital world. Right. And I was very much the naturalist. So when I went out to California to Big Sur, I took these photos when I was in a workshop with a landscape photographer by the name of Ralph Nordstrom. And at the end of every day, he'd come back and we'd sit in the motel lobby or whatever it is, and he'd talk about Photoshop and Lightroom and all of these things. I go, what am I, here's the reality. This is what it is. This is what I saw. And he goes, who's your favorite photographer? And I go, well, landscape photographer. I said, I guess Ansel Adams.
That's what I was going to just say to you. He
Right. And then he said,
manipulated.
well, what did Ansel Adams do? And I go, well, he dodged, he burned, used different
Burned, yeah.
papers, changed his chemical mixtures.
Right.
He did all these, and then it dawned on me. He was using analog editing post-production. So
Right.
if it's good enough for him,
Exactly.
analog, this is good enough for me digitally. So
Right.
that's why I started doing much more post-production stuff with the idea to try to get the particular drama of the image that I wanted to get out. And sometimes it's by pulling out as much color as possible, which was the image that I showed before. Sometimes
Right.
it's limiting the amount of color, such as in this image, or the one behind me. And I've worked, and I do a lot of portraits of street people, and just when I'm traveling, and a lot of that is in black and white. And again, trying to bring out whatever I feel is the personality of that particular human being. And I find that best in black and white. And so I've been doing that. I do have.
So did you start out just doing black and white, or
Oh, yeah,
did you
when I was
dive into
yeah,
color?
actually, my first.
I mean, you said so when you were young, but I mean, with these pieces, these landscapes and such, did you
No,
start
I
out
started out doing these in color.
in color?
But then I decided depending on the place, I kind of said, well, maybe some of these things, I can kind of actually show you, some of these look better in black and white. So this is also in New Zealand, it's Milford Sound, and it was ominous skies all the time. Well, ominous skies need black and white, and they need black and white kind of darkened as much as possible. And the only thing that's highlighted is the reflection of whatever light was off the water. So again, that's the mood that I felt in with my eyes. And I said, well, how can I get that mood portrayed to other people? And there's one series of portraits that I've done that I actually did in sepia. I was in Peru amongst the Andean people, and most of the Andean women were wearing clothing that they wore in the 19th century. So I said I wanted to do sepia because I wanted to kind of say, well, let's make this look like this was actually taken in the 19th century. So again, a lot of that manipulation and post-production is the kind of stuff that I want to do to portray whatever mood.
Well, to create a mood. Okay. Well, the piece that we have up here.
Sorry, I just kind of want to come to kind of a stopping place so we can sort of show the whole show. Sure. And I hope one of my hopes, I think, is that as we meet each other and get a chance to talk a little bit, that we can have conversations moving forward in the after the reception, that kind of.
I think you should have something like this after every monthly meeting. As a part of every monthly meeting, have 4 artists show their work and do something like that.
I'm actually kind of thinking about something just like that, Karen. So it's a great suggestion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think this is a very painterly approach, David, to photography. And I totally get that, you're trying to get that mood.
I can't draw for crap, but I can take photographs.
Oh, but it's the same thing, really.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This is a piece by Livia Gus, and I believe she's here.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
And I would like to talk to Livia. Livia, this is quite an impressive. Am I allowed to talk now or not?
Yes.
Yes, sorry. So this rogue robot is it hits you right in the nose. It's a wonderful piece, and I believe I see this beautiful sign here that says that it's been sold. Did you sell it as part of the show, from the show? Oh, she's muted.
Yes, it was sold through the show, Elsa.
Yes, but we were, hi, there you are. Hi. So you're, did you sell the show? Did you sell it at the show as part of the show? Or?
Yeah, definitely. And, most of my work deals with, our effect on the environment. And I began the picture for this painting when Trump opened the Alaskan pipeline.
Uh-huh.
And that's what you see behind there, almost like a halo for him. It's the two pipelines coming together, one from the north, one from the south. And he is the structural hero of the day when it comes to the destruction of environmental principles.
Uh-huh.
And there he is. My pleasure was making him as a robot. I don't know who controls him. I don't know if he's in his own control. And I don't know if he even cares much about who controls him. But I know that he has a lot of feeling about where his love and his friendship goes. And so I wanted to make him a robot, and I did. And there are many, many things in the painting that are purely symbolic, like the bald eagle coming to land on him. After all, he was the president of the United States. On top of that, you have the liquid that he is standing on. That's pure, that's pure runoff for oil breakage. And this painting actually comes with a header piece, which is not in this view. And the header piece shows it's a continuation of the pipeline, and it goes above this painting, and it literally shows in stars the flag of Alaska, which is the picture.
It's quite a stunning piece. I've seen others of your work, and your work is always very dynamic and has a huge message.
Thank
Very
you.
vibrant.
Yeah, my message generally is, what are we doing to our planet?
With very vibrant work.
How long have you been an artist?
I started painting when I was a kid, left most of it behind. Back in the 70s, I went to Nova Scotia to live, and because it was the movement for back to the land. And lo and behold, when I finally came back, I said, it's time to paint again. So that might have been 10 years ago.
And you've developed an incredible style.
Well, you know, my name isn't Livia Gus, it's Gail Dresner.
You confused me a little in our email exchange. I didn't know. I didn't know that.
So that came from my love of animals, and I was involved in a organization that helps wounded and damaged wildlife. And I told them that I was going to begin to paint again, and they said, no, you can't do that. You can't, you know, we need you here cleaning the cages and taking care of the animals. And I said, don't worry, it's not going to change. And just to prove to you that I will always be there with the animals, anytime I have a painting, I will name it after an animal that we have taken care of. And Livy and Gus are two Eastern box turtles. So I became Livia Gus.
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. And it was a pleasure being part of the organization, and it was a pleasure getting my work to be seen.
Well, we love having you as a member.
See ya.
See ya. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Robert Haggerty's work, and it's very striking, very rich.
He has a unique style. He works with these plastics and such that he makes these interesting kind of, he said they have to be haunting. I think that's kind of interesting.
Oh, they sure are, boy.
Yes, they are. Let's see.
I think Alan's here.
This is Alan Haywood's photograph. Are you still here, Alan? Do you want to say anything about your work? It's a very striking piece.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Alan.
Hi. Well, this was done last summer. Was at the NAACP rally at Market Square named "We Are Done Dying," and this was one of the few times that we ventured out into crowds during the pandemic. You know, I just wanted to kind of be a fly on the wall and document what was going on. And I like to make my images when it's people on the street in black and white. I find that the color can be distracting. And I believe that's Omar Lopez, who's one of the officers in the government, local government. And this was kind of a throwback to the 60s in terms of the signage. I think that slogan was used during the sanitation strike in Memphis when Martin Luther King went to Memphis before he was assassinated. So, you know, we can see the masks. So that really kind of dates the time that we're living through right now.
I think it's real, you know, Alan, I think what I like best about the piece is the fact that it's the juxtaposition of this man sitting sort of quietly, but this sign that is like shouting at you. You know, it's an interesting juxtaposition of the imagery.
Alan, I love the piece as well. And there's a couple of other juxtapositions. The fact that he's sitting there peacefully, but he's sort of holding his hands clasped in a fist.
Right, exactly.
A couple of things. And behind him, all these white people ignoring him and just looking somewhere else.
Well, they were actually paying attention to.
Yeah, I know that there's something going on over there, but the image just kind of like portrays that. So it's really a powerful piece.
Oh,
right. Very much so.
Yeah.
It really is. Thank you very much. Let's see. We have Rosemary Hawking Sanzari's landscape, the skyline.
Is she here?
And I didn't see Rosemary here tonight. But
it's interesting. I'm sorry. It's interesting to see her do a skyline like that because I usually see most of her work as mostly landscapes. So it's kind of interesting she chose to do that during the pandemic.
Yeah, I thought the same thing because she usually does sort of pastorals.
Right.
It's really different. Yeah. This is Dorothy Johnson's work. She's I believe she's a new member, and it's really, she talks about it being about the transformative power of being immersed in nature, and it certainly does give us that
really
opportunity.
Pulls you in.
This is Leah Joseph's work, and I thought I saw Leah here earlier.
Is she there?
Yes, hi, I'm here.
Hi, Leah.
Hi.
Hi, how are you, Leah?
I'm good, thank you.
So you mentioned in your work that you paint with and you use pastels and acrylics. I'm kind of interested in the process because I'm curious as to, so you do your painting and then you use accents with your pastels, or?
Yes, so I start off with a colored background for the landscapes. And then most of the painting is done in acrylic, but I like to do the mark making and the structures and details with the oil pastels.
So you just do a basic background, like the beautiful colors in the background and the light of the blues and the whites and
Yes.
the purple.
Yes.
That's kind of something you painted. Do you have an idea of would be when you're doing that you're going to what you're going to put in front of it, or do you just kind of use that to as a jump off point to bring you into some kind of landscape, or do you only do landscapes?
Off late I've been doing landscapes. I have done quite a few abstracts, totally abstract things, like which just gives me a feel of an idea. It can be different kinds of things, but of late I've been doing landscapes, especially during this COVID time, not being able to go out anywhere, stuck in with my 2 young kids, you know.
Right.
So I've been doing landscapes, and doing landscapes on paper has been a new thing for me. I used to work on canvases before, and it's kind of interesting how I can use both acrylic and oil pastels on the paper and get that kind of an effect.
So you're working on paper with your acrylic?
Yes.
It's not board, just paper, like watercolor paper?
Yeah, it's watercolor paper.
And your inspirations are just something you've seen, or are you working from something, from sketches or something like that? Or are you just kind of making up this?
I'm making it up. So what happens is I have these internal conversations in my head for days. And that idea just sticks there, and I can't get it out. So I need to paint it. It's like I'm painting out my conversation, you know? So it has been like every time I go through some kind of an experience which doesn't seem to work out for me, or makes me feel that it's quite frustrating. It's been like that for me for quite a while now. And every time it's like a reminder that maybe the time is not right for something to work out. And it's been like a constant reminder in a way. And so I wanted to paint this with the bare
get it
trees.
out of your system.
Yes, get it out of my system in a way, yes. So
Well,
the
it's
bare
lovely.
trees are kind of symbolic for that, you know, like the bare trees are like my state of mind, and how that when the time is right, it is going to come into life with leaves and flowers and fruits. It just has to wait for the spring season. So
yeah, the time
it's like that. Yes. So
very
that was
lovely.
the thought behind this painting.
Beautiful. Beautiful
Thank
job.
you.
It's very
Thank
lovely.
you.
And thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right. So this is Jill, excuse me, Jill Kiefer's piece. She's an active Ossining Arts Council member. Jill, are you still here?
Past president?
Past president, yes.
Yes, I am here. I am here. Very briefly, it's just when the pandemic started, I just painted a canvas black because I felt like we all fell into a black hole of sorts. And over time, as positive things happened and developed, and you know, we kind of found our way through community and stuff, I added elements representing glimmers of hope. So it's really just a very spontaneous kind of intuitive piece about the emotional process of going through the pandemic.
That's right.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Great. It has great depth to it too.
Yeah.
I like that
I love
layering.
the stars.
Oh.
This is Renee's. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, this is I do a lot of pen and ink drawings. The pen and ink drawings kind of came into being, as I have said in other, you know, interviews and stuff. They came into being to sort of take me back into art when I had these lapses where I could not seem to get motivated to do anything, and basically found a pen that worked really well to do drawings very quickly without smearing and all that. And I just liked the idea of creating these swirly and just going with it and seeing it where it takes me and what I create with it. A feeling, yes, but sometimes just a structural thing. almost trying to create a structure actually with pen and ink, and then bring people into it by just looking at it and maybe envisioning it as a three-dimensional thing that you could walk around. So just creating spaces by using pen and ink, and in this particular one, some color.
And do you
And
use
just
a
very
brush?
spontaneous, very spontaneous. Excuse me?
Did you use a brush as well?
No, I just use this little pen and I fill in.
Oh, you fill it in.
I color myself into a corner, just swirling and
Yeah.
trying to create balance in the image and create depth and space and push and pull with line.
It's really great.
And then the color, I just started doing some with a little bits of color to kind of throw in there and see what I could do with it. But most of the ones I have, some of them are behind me. Most of them are just black and white. And they're just abstract. They're not meant to, as I said to one person, I named them for a while, but then I realized I was kind of like telling people what to see in them. And people were seeing all kinds of things in them. So I thought, don't even name them, just like let people make it into their own thing.
I was just about to say, the more that I look at it, the more things I see in it. It's fascinating to look at.
Thank you.
It is. Thank you, Renee.
You're welcome.
Let's see. So Phyllis Kerrigan is here. And do you want to say anything about this piece, Phyllis? I know I looked at this piece and it seemed different than some of the other work that you've shown with the Arts Council. It's I love the landscape.
This is a pastel. I thought perhaps it was the only pastel in the exhibit, but then I just heard someone who uses oil pastels. I use soft and hard pastels, or as they say in Europe and Australia, pastels. And I love, for the past year, I've been working in pastel. Before that, I worked in acrylic and alcohol ink and watercolor, but I've just sort of fallen in love with pastel. The colors are so brilliant. The medium is very forgiving. You can correct mistakes. You can paint over paint, and it's not exactly a painting, but I go in for landscapes, florals, and lately I've been doing still lifes, and I sort of go from season to season. So
well, I think that the pastels have really elevated your work. I mean, I really think this is really lovely. It's really quite beautiful.
I sort of found that my favorite season is autumn. Somehow the colors of autumn just sort of, take over all the other seasons, in my opinion, even spring. But right now I'm, doing flowers and this kind of thing.
Really beautiful.
Yeah, it's very lovely. Thank you. So Maria Klein, this is her photograph called Solitude. And I didn't see Maria here. But it's certainly, she talks about it being in Iceland, and it does have that sort of austere.
Stark beauty.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Very cool.
This is Susan Lanzano's piece, and I know she was here earlier.
Yes, she was. Let's see. Susan, where are you?
I'm still here.
Oh.
Hi. So I have been in love with nature all my life. From my earliest moments as a child, I have been just awestruck by how interesting and beautiful the different forms are. And rather late in my life, I decided I was going to start painting, and left my job in publishing, and I began studying Chinese brush painting because I was very drawn to the aesthetic of Asian botanicals in particular. This painting was done with Western materials, but all of my ideas about composition are very much influenced by the way composition is thought of as an asymmetrical arrangement, and you're always looking for a flow of energy. So that contributes to all of my thoughts. This particular piece is based on, it's, as you can see, they're Jack in the Pulpit flowers and leaves, and I started the piece a number of years ago when I was interested in looking at the form of the leaves that were kind of wilting. It was late in the season, and I did some drawings of the leaves, and I actually have I have some of the drawings with me in case you're interested. So here, let me see. I did a drawing here of the leaves alone, and then transferred it to black ink so I could look at the value patterns. And then I put it in the drawer, and some years later I took it out and I said I wanted to finish it, and I decided I would design some Jack in the Pulpit flowers. And so I did those and put those in, and then it seemed like there was still an element that needed to be added to this, and decided on a dragonfly. And then I went through a whole study of dragonflies. This is a black widow skimmer, and it was the color and the kind of shape of the dragonfly that I thought would complement it. And so I put this together, and my husband helped me with the title, calling it Spring Trinity, because they're the three parts to it. So I work in watercolor, and this was done on Western watercolor paper. And I work with 140-pound cold pressed arch most of the time. And when I'm working on paper like that, I will use watercolor brushes that would be ranging in size from some very small ones like this to maybe the largest one would be something like this.
Hard to see.
When I work with Asian materials, my brushes are very different. I mean, these are some brushes, and these are some other brushes. And the papers could be, am I positioning this right for the camera? Can you see that?
We just barely.
I'm sorry, I'm not so good at staging things.
Okay. No, that's all right.
Anyway, sometimes I worked on raw rice paper, and then the paper is so absorbent that you have to work with a very fast moving brush, and you load the brush in such a way that the paint mixes on contact with the paper, as opposed to the watercolor in the Western tradition where you do layer upon layer. Anyway, my goal is to, find some attitude of a plant in nature that really moves me, and design a composition that shows the flow of life and energy, and that will, interest the viewer and have them feel the same kind of connection that I feel when I'm looking at it.
I love the way your signature kind of is part of the design.
Oh yeah, well,
it's a beautiful signature. Can you talk about how you develop that?
In Chinese art and Japanese art, you have a seal, and my Chinese brush painting teacher made a play on the sound of my name. Instead of Susan, Su-an represents the sounds of the ideograph subtle piece. And so she had her husband carve a seal for me with that ideograph. So it's basically my signature seal. And I have a few different shapes. This is an oval one, but I have a small square as well. But I like the oval one for a lot of, and I think about the position of the seal as part of the composition. So it's a considered decision. It's not just arbitrary, and it could be in various places.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for contributing this beautiful information to on this wonderful piece of work.
Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Let's see. Thank you, Susan. This is Susan Lasky's work. It's so interesting because it's also plant-based, but so different than what we just looked at. It
Right. Yeah, exactly.
always amazes me to see the variety of what there is of creativity. And this is Brinley Lazar's piece. She is, are you still here, Brinley? Yes.
I'm still here.
Hi, Brinley. You know, I think we chatted at the library.
Yeah, we did. We got to chat briefly. It was nice.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I when I went home, I was thinking, we were talking about how you do this. You're now doing it digitally, you said, right? I mean, originally you were doing drawings or working on different media.
Yeah, so I work actually in a lot of different media. It just sort of is whatever strikes my fancy. During the pandemic, though, I have 3 small children, and life during the pandemic was really crazy with them at home a lot. And my mom actually passed away this last year, and there was just so much going on. And I found myself doing more and more and more digital work just because it was something I could, like, it didn't require cleanup, it didn't require setup. I could grab and go with my iPad. It was just something that was easy to pick up and then put down when I needed to. And
But did you, I don't know if I don't remember if you said, do you do a sketch first and then scan it and then work on top of that when you're working on the digital? Or do you just directly draw on the computer?
Yeah, sometimes it depends on the piece. So this piece I did purely digitally, but there are lots of pieces where it's kind of a mixed media, in a sense that I do something in real media first, and then yeah, I'll import the image into the drawing program that I use, and I'll manipulate it in whatever way I want to.
I was just curious, what was the I just have one question as to whether you with this particular one, we're trying to send a message of some sort, because it looks like it has a message there.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, this last year's been really hard. I mean, it's been hard for everybody. But it was especially complicated with my mom's passing, and just a lot of like messy family dynamics. And I think I created this piece with the idea that, like, wouldn't it be so lovely if I could just set all my baggage down easily like that and just walk away, move on.
Yeah.
So I think I created this with almost like a fantasy in mind. Like, it would be so amazing. I have a lot of baggage. There's a lot of baggage in this picture. I have a lot of baggage, but the idea of like just setting it down and walking away was just such a lovely thought.
Well, I think it really comes across, and I think it's something we can all relate to very easily. Thank you for sharing it with us. Oh, I'm losing my viewing here. My thing's falling over.
Uh-oh.
But, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. This is Barbara Levine's piece. I didn't see Barbara here tonight. She does a lot of landscape work, and always captures like a really definite feel for her in her images. This is Sharon Linsker's work.
Hi.
Hi, Sharon. Is there anything you want to share about this for a moment or two?
Yeah, lovely to be here tonight. I visited Giverny about 6 years ago and took some photos and put them away, and returned last December to the subject. So I was putting down gesso first and working with watercolor on top. And I certainly was not trying to be literal, but hope I captured some of the spirit and color of the place.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it definitely I see references to
Monet.
Monet in
Yeah.
it, which is wonderful. It captures
Thank
that,
you.
that feeling. It's great.
Thank you.
They're
Thank-
really beautiful.
This is Janine Marino's watercolor. And so it's always amazing. So there's another watercolor. It's got a completely different feel, right? One of the things I just love about all of us as artists is we do such different things with the same materials. I don't know if Janine is here tonight. I don't see her here, but it's really very, it certainly gives a tone that's wonderful. This is Allison Midgley's piece. So this is my piece. And I think that I'll just say briefly that I've taken many photos of this scene. It has a lot of variations of texture that I like a lot. And when I moved here 5 years ago, I saw this view outside my window and it just looked like a modern abstract painting to me. And I really loved it so much. And somehow I've expressed that to people who look at the view, and so far no one else has seen that beauty in it. But I continue to take photos of it. It changes, and because it changes. Someone else earlier mentioned that the light, and I think actually maybe Dave Green said, you know, the light changes and it creates a totally different feel. And so that's part of what I sometimes try to capture. And I think I do tend to do series of things, so you may wind up seeing more of these along the way. This is Yvonne Milani, and I hope I'm pronouncing.
What I said was, I always thought that having been a W, that the letter L falls in the middle. But in this case, there seems to be a huge preponderance of people before me.
So I think somebody's unmuted. You may want to
whatever it is.
check your camera.
So I'm gonna.
There's another, we have a photo here.
I can leave out. No, I don't have to leave it.
So,
would you like your iPad?
I'm not sure who's talking.
I think it might be Sharon Linsker.
I'm trying to inform you.
Fine.
When I said,
So,
what did you say? What did I say?
So I wanted to just sort of, I know the artist was here earlier, and I don't know if she still is. Gisela, but this is we were talking about, a couple of us were talking about this view earlier because it's so it's so dynamic.
Well, I love the juxtaposition of these straight lines along this very, it looks like two completely different places brought together with this, so you know, kind of serpentine fun feels on the left, and then on the right you have all these straight lines, and you know, it's just really a nice contrast in the one photo.
And you know, I will say that I'm sorry to be moving through some of these quickly, but I want to make sure that we get to see everyone's work tonight. So
Never fails.
I didn't see David Ramos here tonight, but if you haven't had a chance to read his artist statement, I think, you know, he really put a lot of himself out there and on the canvas or on the wall. So it's really very, I think, and it's interesting. The title of this is Delirious Bellicus Obstrosity. So he's playing with language as well, just really wonderful. Let's see. Sharon Rowe, are you here tonight?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Sharon. Did you want to say anything about your work?
Yeah, sure. Just that I'm really new to painting, and I was biking during the pandemic and I came across the salt marsh and I thought it was beautiful. So I thought I'd figure out how to do it.
Mm.
So for me, painting is just figuring things out. Mm-hmm. A lovely piece, Sharon.
That's true for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. It's
It's
really
beautiful
strong.
piece.
And it was
Mm.
really beautiful to be biking during the pandemic.
To be is now and looks wintry, so it was really
Yeah, it was in the winter. Yeah, we just
Yeah,
we were out in
apropos, yeah.
Southold in the North Fork. Yeah.
right, and it's a
And
pretty apropos.
the sky is lovely.
Yeah. Very evocative.
Very wonderful.
Yeah, your piece is gorgeous.
This is Raymond Royster's piece, and I didn't see Raymond here tonight. But he certainly has it really communicates his, it's called The Wall. And so I think it really talks about, it certainly talks about some of what's going on in our country today. This is Elsa Rubinstein's piece. Do you want to say anything about your piece, Elsa?
I've been wondering what I'm going to say. I think I was in the zeitgeist during pandemic with so many people are showing works with loads of color, and I felt I needed to just play with colors that I love and colors that remind me of my youth in Mexico, where lots of vibrant color is used in art. And it depicts a jug that I actually made in clay class. And then I added some flowers and the fruit, and I just wanted to really be adventurous with color. And there you have it. I'm being brief.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. This is Elena Sabatini's. Are you here tonight, Elena? Did you want to add anything?
I'm here under the guise of Keith Gordon. This was actually painted just before the pandemic hit. I love going down to the river and watching the sunsets, and I wanted desperately to replicate that. I think I've come as close as I have yet to success. It just gave me a lot of peace, and what I've painted since then, as Jill Kiefer might be able to attest, has been resting Volkswagens and broken down fences, and I have to give Jill all the credit for extracting whatever artistic ability I have. She's been a tremendous teacher and a cheerleader when I wanted to just chuck it all in a bin. And I guess that's about it. I'm still learning a lot.
We're always learning, all of us.
I love the blue on the mountains and the way the water is reflecting the sunset. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I have to say that the colors are not entirely accurate in here. It's a little bit more muted than that. But yeah, I had a lot of fun playing with the different colors, trying to get depth and shadow and stuff.
Yeah, compliment, yeah.
It's wonderful. It's really great. This is Mark Saradin. He's a longtime and former president of the Ossining Arts Council. Makes photographs as well as draws. So the gesture here is just amazing.
Yeah, I'm surprised not a photograph. So used to seeing his photographs. Really nice, beautiful.
You know, actually an interesting project might be for as the Ossining Arts Council to have people a show of things that are not your usual medium. That might be fun. Roberta, are you here? Did you want to add anything about your painting? I think she was here earlier. Roberta has been a member, and she's just gotten back involved. So it's good to see her work.
It's quite interesting that we were talking about some of the pieces in the show, so many of them have such bright colors. It's almost like everybody just needed to get it out after the pandemic, just get all that color out there, show the world.
This is Bunny Solomon's, and this is a photograph that's manipulated. She talks about working with that, and I'm fascinated by this piece personally because it looks to me like it could be a poured paper piece. So it's really interesting to me that the colors are so brilliant, and that it's a photograph.
And it looks almost like a collage.
Yeah. Let's see. This is
Oh, it's
Roseanne the Slider, and she's here tonight. Are you still here, Roseanne?
I'm here. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
I'm new to the Ossining Arts Council. I just joined and I was happy to be able to have my piece in your show. It's basically, it's a collage and it represents what you can see within the pictures, and it's all about World War II, which is pretty obvious. I started working in collage about 3 years ago. Before that, I did portraits, I did fine art painting pretty much my whole life, and textile design. I did that to earn a living. So, and you could see a textile designer in this because you're always thinking about the repeat and the way everything's placed. Anyway, so I just got into collage about 3 years ago. I moved here about 3 years ago from Brooklyn, and I just love it. I can't stop. I have, I just work on it every day. And I mean, in this piece, you could see, I collect old vintage magazines. I have tons of them behind me. I don't know if you could see. And that's where I get all these images. And sometimes I print on vellum so you could see through the image on some of this. And yeah, basically these are old pictures from old magazines, but then I do layers so that it gives it a lot of depth and, it makes it move, your eyes moving. But it's pretty representative of World War II and the horrors of war. And my father was in World War II, and he's on the bottom center, and a picture of him in World War II. So I always think about him being in the war and what he went through. So, it's like an emotional thing for me. But I hope
it's a really interesting piece. I mean, when I was looking at it, I kept seeing things that I didn't see the first time. So it's really like the gift that keeps on giving. Every time I see something, I'll see, oh, there's that there. And, it's very interesting how you've juxtaposed these images in there.
Right. You don't, it's just, I do layers. I don't want anything to pop out too much. So your eyes.
Right. It just kind of comes forward a little bit at a time as you look at it. It's really, really nice.
Push and pull, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty interesting because Renee works with layers a lot, and she talks about that kind of thing. So I think it's really interesting that you guys are having that conversation. It's wonderful.
I love Renee's work.
Thank you.
So it brings me back to what I said earlier about I hope these conversations can continue after the reception is over. So it's great. We have begun, and we're going to leave time at our monthly meetings for this kind of talk. So if you are available on the second Wednesday of the month, you're welcome to join us. The information about it goes out. Zoom meetings currently, they go out shortly before the meeting. So I hope to see people there.
This is Mike Surf, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is he here?
Yes.
Hello, Mike. Are you here? He's not here?
He's here.
Does he want to, I just have a question about this piece because I was looking at it when we were hanging it and it was very heavy. But my real question was, I could see that it's a representation of some Brooklyn sites and such. And I was curious to know if he has a background in, cartoons, because they kind of have a cartoony look, but at the same time, it has this very graffiti effect for me anyway. And I just wondered how he did this process because it's on metal. So if he is there, I'd like to hear what he has to say about it. Mike, are you there? Earth to Mike, is he there?
Can you hear me?
No, right now. Oh yeah, now I can hear you. No, I can't hear you. I'm not here. Is anybody having trouble? I'm having trouble hearing. I don't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you
Oh,
now.
now I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, this process was well, first what I do is first off I want to say thank you. Everybody's work here is great. It's wonderful. I met Alan and Sandra at the Bethany Art Center, and they referred me to the Ossining Art Center, and I became a member. Your show is incredible. You guys have just so much here. I mean, the art is splendid. But this is it's just something that I did in 2019. And it's just that Brooklyn is just a place that I grew up. You know, I'm from the Bronx, but every Sunday I would go to Brooklyn. And it's actually it's its own city. So it's just so diverse. And I just wanted to bring that into play when I did it. I first sketched it. And then after I sketch it, I run it through Illustrator. And then from there, I found a group of individuals who are able to take what I have and put it on fine art paper. So I picked like different papers, Japanese papers, Moab Lasso, cotton papers. And then what they do is they streamline it onto a composite. It's called a dye bond composite, and it's acrylic. So it's an acrylic art panel. So my paper is actually on an acrylic art panel. And then there are brackets made so you can make it into a floating mount or whatever you want. But I just wanted to be able to have an aspect ratio of taking my what I draw in an 8x9 sheet of paper and making it as big as possible, you know?
So they enlarged it for you and put it on, because it's quite large. It's like, how many, it's 34 by 24.
Right, 34, and that's not the largest. I have one.
That was taken from a small piece of paper and it was blown up?
Well, once you run it through Illustrator,
right,
you can make your
as big as you
artwork
want.
as big as you want.
Right,
you know, you can make it as big as the Empire State Building.
It doesn't fall apart, yeah.
It doesn't fall apart, right? And it has to be at a certain aspect ratio. It has to have that so it doesn't lose any of the it doesn't pixelize or it doesn't lose any of your dimensions.
So when it's printed, so in other words, it's printed, is that why? Because it almost had like a silk screen, you know, quality to it, you know, that's very flat. The color is very flat, almost like it was airbrushed on there, or, you know, it's interesting that the surface.
Yeah, so certain papers give it a certain effect. So yeah, so there's so many different papers out there. Like a lot of the artists use like on watercolors or different things like that. If you print on certain papers, you will get a certain effect. Some colors will be darker, some colors will be lighter. It depends on, you know, the shade or the technique, how you want it to look. So yes, it's printed. There's nothing over it. That is straight paper. So if it's the same way that I have it in my art book, it comes out a little bit more vivid.
Right. Colors are very vivid. What is the purpose? I mean, it's on a very heavy metal plate. So is there a reason for that?
Well, that's just that the dye bond composite is just, it's a form of a canvas. You know, it stays on that. So I have a few pieces that I've done 4 years ago, and it just doesn't fall off. It's almost like it's its own backing. And so you can frame it if you wanted to, but instead of framing it, it's just.
Well, you don't need to, because it's very secure, right? I mean, it's very secure on that surface.
Exactly, it's secure on the surface.
Well, it's really interesting, very lovely. It makes me think of, you know, your name, like you use the name Mike Surf, makes me think of like boogie boards and I mean, just the style of it just kind of has that effect. So I thought it was kind of interesting that your name is Mike Surf and it has that effect of like almost like the skateboards, or, the boogie boards, or the, surfboards, things like that. So really, really very interesting. And I, all the little details from Brooklyn and such were very much picked up by me anyway. I don't know about anybody else, but very, very nice. Very interesting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Interesting process too. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and I caught a piece of the Bronx in that too.
Yeah, yeah. I saw the Yankee hat. I wasn't going to say anything.
I don't know if Patty's here tonight.
Well, she does, of course, beautiful watercolor.
She does beautiful watercolors.
All subjects, all types.
And this is Carolyn Van Ness's photo. I don't think Carolyn is here tonight. She's been showing with the Ossining Arts Council for a few years, and this subject is so delightful. I think she has a great story about who this woman is, and I hadn't heard this story, but I was talking to someone else who said she met this woman in a market, and that the woman was almost like mischievous, and
you could see that.
Clearly lots of personality there. That's great. All right. This is Michael Washburn's photo, and he was here earlier, but it looks like he's not here anymore.
He always has such an interesting eye on the photos he makes, and this fish that's in the water here, it's almost like you have to look deeply to see it,
This is Aidan Weeder's piece. This is an acrylic painting, and so we've all sort of speculated. I've speculated about how he made it. It's got that. It's almost got a printmakerly aspect to it.
Right. Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And this is Tom Will's piece print that he made. Tom, are you still here? Do you want to say anything about your piece?
Well, just run the video. Well, no, people can do the video up later or something. I don't know how this works, but
yeah.
No, no, it's from. Let me look at it here. Be sure I remember. Yeah, this is a tree that fell down on my land maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I made a number of slices from it. It was a black locust. And with the whole thing last year, the sense of truth seemed to be sliding everywhere, very different place, every week, every day, every hour. So so that it's a slice of a red locust, and then you take out the grain by hand, and then with tools, and then ink it from there, and that's the image.
It's wonderful, Tom. Thank you.
I think it's very interesting that it's a tree, and the colors represent to me our country, and it's so easy to rot from within, as you can see here, and things go in all directions, and it's just making such a statement.
I love this piece. Wow.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom.
It is lovely.
This is Katie Winterstein Goldberg's, and I didn't see her here tonight, but I'll give her a moment if she wants to talk about anything.
Is she here?
No, I don't see her. It's such a dramatic piece, and I do apologize. It's after 8:30. If you can hang with us for a few more minutes, that would be great. If you need to go, we understand that as well. you know, that it's, there's some of the portraits in this show are so striking.
It's made me
And
think of Klimt.
yeah, yeah, there is a little bit of that there. Just amazing. Let's see. And this is Ann Zimmerman. She's an active OAC member. I didn't see Ann here tonight, but this is needle felted and mixed media. Really dynamic. And I'm always fascinated. If you're interested in needle felting, the Ossining Arts Council and the Croton Council on the Arts are going to be hosting an online workshop with another artist who does needle felting. Anne is really an active, she's a teacher and she does a lot of different work. So this is her work. You know, and we got to Z, that's the end of our show for tonight. I encourage everybody to go and, you know, take your time to go back and look at the show again, both at the library and online. I wanted to mention that the library, James Trapazzo he sort of heads up the gallery at the library, and he had to go early on, but he got us set up. He's done so much to help us out, and the library has as well. You know, so many people have commented about how the show is just beautiful and eclectic. And he really hopes that everyone will come by there and see the live work as well.
And bring friends and family.
Yeah, bring friends and family. And I want to thank everyone for coming. I did record the session, so once we get that, I get that sort of processed, we'll get that up and we'll make sure everybody has a link to it or to, you know, parts of the interviews. So does anybody have anything they want to add before we close?
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you, Allison, for all your work on this.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you for organizing this and for the excellent job you've done. It was really very interesting to hear everybody's story. And
yeah,
it was,
thank you. And it's really worth seeing it, because when you see it on the computer, it doesn't look the same as it is in reality.
In the reality of the show, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really.
Thank you, everyone.
I would just like to say one thing, and that is, hello, everybody. The OAC is a volunteer organization, and we would love more people to be active and get involved with the things that we do. So think about it and come to our meetings. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I look forward to hearing your comments.
Thank you.
And thank you, Allison.
Thank you
Great
all.
job.
It's been a group project. So thank you all. Have a great night, and I hope to see you soon.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.